Well, hello, event hustlers, and welcome back to the Event Hustler Show. It has been quite a long time, and it is a beautiful day here in New York. It's a Wednesday right now, and I am back recording the Event Hustler Show for the first time in about 8 months. It's crazy. For those of you who know, you probably know that I stopped recording in October of last year because I had a baby, and so, it was obviously a lot to get to do and figure out. And so I was not recording. When my son turned about 4 months, coronavirus hit. And then that was just madness for our industry. And it is still madness. But I kind of took a few weeks when coronavirus first hit. Obviously, we were and still are hunkering down at our home here in New York. And I was starting to just try to figure out what is next. Obviously, kind of a combination of events canceling and new things coming in and new projects, because I have been doing virtual events for a long time. So it's actually been really busy, and it took me a few weeks to kind of figure out and get my bearings. And then, as many of you know, probably some who are watching the live stream now, I did the Pivot Virtual Summit, which was 2 weeks of really crazy, amazing content featuring over 40 speakers and sessions. And the goal was really to just talk about the state of our industry, what kind of skills we need to be successful in the new future, the new normal, whatever that's going to look like. And also to think about case studies of companies who are doing smart pivots, especially in this crazy time. So I just wrapped that up last Friday, and it was a good impetus for me to get back to recording the show. I have really enjoyed doing this and having great conversations. And then when you do it for 2 weeks straight, it's like something is missing when it doesn't exist anymore. So I am just now kind of kicking this back off. For those of you who may not know, I will be recording every Wednesday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. It's a live show. So if you are watching live, you are more than welcome to put your comments and questions in the feed. I broadcast this in our Event Hustlers Facebook group, as well as my Liz King Events Facebook page and on YouTube. So you can check it out in all of those places. And then, of course, the audio from this, the content gets pushed out on my Event Hustler Show podcast as well. So lots of ways to listen. Please do subscribe if you have not done so already. But I really like to do this live and then also have, the ability to listen back and kind of listen to it all again. In terms of today's episode, I have decided not to have a guest, primarily because there's so much to talk about. And I figured one thing that I could do is share kind of the 5 things that I have learned the most during this coronavirus craziness and over the course of the Pivot Virtual Summit as well. I have been doing a lot of thinking. Those of you who know me know I am a thinker anyway by nature. And so I've really just been thinking about the industry, my role in the industry, my family, my friends, what life is going to look like post-COVID. And I'm trying to put that into some lessons learned. So I thought I would share these 5 things with you today. We don't necessarily have to go the full 30 minutes, but just in terms of format for the future, typically it is a great opportunity for me to have a guest and to be able to really learn from other people about different industry topics. So if you are interested in being a guest, that's another thing that I'm adding in there. If you go to lizkingevents.com and click on the community tab, you will see all of our past episodes, and there is a button there for you to apply to be one of our speakers. I think it's a really good opportunity to get awareness to your brand and to talk about something that you're really passionate about in the industry. And I like to be in that interviewer role. But again, today I'm just going to kind of dive in and tell you the 5 things that I have learned the most over the past few months. And it's been a crazy ride. So the first thing you may have seen, if you've seen my newsletter or you've seen some of my social media channels, I already wrote about this topic this week, but clearly it's something that I am really, really thinking about. And that is the idea of slowing down. Now, because of COVID-19, we really don't have a choice. We have had to slow down because businesses are shut. We can't go out. Again, if you kind of follow me on Facebook or something, you probably know that my husband and I love to go out. We're always eating at different restaurants and going to the movies. Even after having a baby, we were doing a lot of that stuff. And it has forced us to stay home and to, adapt. Now, I work from home anyway. And so that's nothing new for me. But now my husband is working from home full time. And yeah, we're just not going out very much. Then, as I was participating in the Pivot Virtual Summit, there were some themes that kind of just kept coming home to me. And one of them was about this idea of slowing down. And as I really started to think about it, I started to think about how much power there is in not rushing. I've worked with several clients, and I've done this myself, where you come up with an idea and you just rush to put it together. It's like the mad dash. And part of it is the competitive nature of the world. Part of it is excitement. But there are so many times where we make mistakes or we miss opportunities because we're moving too fast. So when I say slow down, I'm not only talking about physically not going out as much, but I really mean taking the time to think through the decisions that you're making, think through your ideas. I was just telling Craig this morning, my husband, that I have 3 or 4 new kind of business ideas. And so I need to dedicate the time to think about each one and to really think them through. Think through which one has the biggest opportunity, to plan it all out. I am a huge fan of the lean startup model. I read that book and that was a game changer because I used to spend so much time planning something out and envisioning every single step. And literally building out the entire product and then launching it and finding that half of it didn't really work. So I am really learning to, build a minimum viable product and get it out there. But there is that middle ground, which is so much thinking has to go into really making that a success. So that's my first lesson. Slow down. My second thing I've been thinking about during this whole COVID craziness is that this is the Great Accelerator. COVID has moved businesses forward, and I see it as we have moved forward 10 years. So there are some people who are doing really cool things. I know even in the virtual space, the virtual events and stuff that I've been doing for years, so many clients were kind of against it. It was like, if we have to do a virtual event, then I guess we will. But the truth is that because of COVID, we've all kind of been forced into this world. And so now I'm seeing virtual events getting more registrations than ever. And yes, not just free, but also paid, which is awesome. And this is forcing, technology companies to really innovate. We've seen Zoom have to make so many different changes because so many people are using them for all these different things. And it's a great accelerator. It has moved us into a new world. We are talking about the fact that just because people are welcome to go back to their offices when that happens, they may choose not to. This might be a moment for people to reassess and to think about what really gets them excited. And I think we're going to see huge shifts. On the other side, this is a great accelerator for companies who were not doing so well. So for many in our industry who were kind of barely hanging on, and we thought we could just kind of keep doing the same thing year after year and get us to at least another year and another year and another year. Well, now we fast forwarded 10 years. And so I think we're going to see a lot of companies that may have otherwise gone out of business because of a lack of reinvention. Maybe it would have been 10 years. I think now we're going to see it in the next 1 to 2 years. And that's so scary. And I think that's a lot of what we're seeing in the industry is this fear, this panic, and also this paralysis because you really just don't know what to do when you're faced with whether your business has really got what it takes to succeed in this new world. So it can be a very exciting time. And I know for many of you, it's a really, really scary time. And this brings me to my third lesson. There are huge opportunities for innovation. There are just some really good things. This opens the world up. If you were willing to try something, but maybe your clients weren't or your boss wasn't so into it, well, guess who's talking now? Because at this point, it's all about innovation. Companies need to do whatever they have to do to be successful. And yes, as one Facebook user is saying, necessity is the mother of invention. This has put everyone to a place where they just have to figure out how to evolve. And whether that means a retail space, figuring out how they're going to service their clients when they can't have, tons of people in the store browsing and shopping and touching everything, or restaurants where they have to socially distance. In the events industry, obviously, the idea of social distancing is completely the opposite of what we try to do in the industry. So this is causing us to be really creative. And it opens up huge opportunities. I have seen some really cool things in the past few weeks. I'm going to be sharing a lot of it with you on all of my channels through this podcast, but also, anywhere that I can share it. Some really, really interesting technology that's coming out that, there's been kind of like bad technology available for many years. And this has been the impetus for people to say, okay, we got to build something better. And in the live event space, of course, I think live events are coming back. I don't think they're coming back tomorrow, but I do think they're coming back. In that live event space, it also is a great time for innovation. And so this is the time, more than ever in the history of my career in the events industry, where companies have to scrap what they have been always doing and really think about what they can do to innovate. And of course, this comes down to the event experience, the attendee experience, keeping people engaged. For example, if you're going to do another live event right now, you really need to think about what is it about that event that is going to get someone to come out of their comfort zone of their home where they feel safe and they feel sanitized and secure and make them want to come. What's going to get them to make that decision? And that is not an easy decision. It's something even as on a personal level, I am having trouble figuring out when will I feel comfortable traveling and when do I plan to go on vacation again or travel for business. I don't know the answers to that. And I'm not, unfortunately, here to share that. What I am saying is this is a time for us to think about those questions and to really innovate. And what this means is really huge things for our industry. Because in my opinion, we have been waiting way too long to put the focus on the attendee, to really nail down the goals and to drive, strategic events. There are, lots of events that occur in the world pre-COVID. Most of them were, I'm going to say it, a big waste of money because they weren't achieving strategic goals. They were way over the top in terms of just what's necessary to achieve the goals and to make a great experience. And I think our industry has become synonymous with waste, and that's horrible. And so this is a really good time for us to rethink, to invent, and to keep the focus where it belongs in the first place, which is on the people that we are bringing together. So that brings me to my fourth lesson I have learned during this crazy COVID time. The fourth thing I have really learned is about the idea that we really need to figure out our value as event professionals, and we need to show that to our attendees. As I mentioned before, I am seeing a ton of panic in the industry. Live events have been canceled indefinitely. The industry is going to crash and burn. I've seen, decimated. I've seen all kinds of words describing our industry. And one thing I will agree with is we are not going back to the way it was ever done before. However, we are forgetting the value that we have as event professionals. Our value is in bringing people together, in creating meaningful human experiences, which, by the way, everything that's great in the history, I heard this once and I've always kind of remembered it. Everything great that's happened in the history of the world has happened around some kind of an event. Those things that you remember, the most memorable moments of your life, what are they? They're your wedding, your family events, your special events, things that happen in politics, things that happen in economics that change our world. They are most frequently around some type of an event. We have associations for everything. We have events for everything. And our value as professionals is not just throwing a live event. It's not just orchestrating a beautiful event with a great venue and some cool vendors, and we get to bring people together and then they all go home. We have an incredible power to think outside the box, if we can get ourselves to do that, and design experiences that transform people, that make the world a better and different place, that are memories that live in people's minds for the rest of their lives. And that's what we need to be selling to the public right now. It's not live events. And I see way too many people in our industry who are focused on, we have to get back to live events because if we don't do that, I have no living, and that's not okay. There are so many other ways that we can do this. Virtual events is one. Hybrid events. I think we're going to see a huge uptick in hybrid events. Can we bring people together in person and add a virtual component? I think that is really, really important. So this is a time to think about, what is the value that we actually provide to our clients? What is the core of it? And can we do something creative to now sell that same value to the same clients? We don't have to go out and find all new clients and reinvent our business. I've been saying this for the past few weeks. We do not all have to become virtual event experts. That is not the goal. But if your specialty is event design, or you are really into audio visual, or you are the king or queen of content management, what is the true value of that service? What are you really helping people to do? And how could you evolve that in a post-COVID world? Because I think that's going to help you survive now. And it's going to give you great new opportunities for the future. So this is stuff that I'm not just kind of sitting here and preaching to you. I'm thinking about these things too. I've been doing virtual events for years and hybrid events and live events. But you know what? I'm really understanding now the power of showing the true value of what I offer. What is the root of what I really do? My specialty is helping thought leaders sell more products and services and grow their brand through making connections. And so I've been focused a lot on events, and I've also been focused a lot on community building. And I've been doing all of this in my own business as well. And all of that can be done online and with the intention of having in-person components. Again, we're not moving everything into the virtual space, but what are some unique services and things that we could do that will really help our clients now? And I think that's important for our revenue, but also for our industry's perceived value all throughout the world. So I really hope this is something that we can really think about. The last point that I want to talk about today, my fifth lesson that I have learned, and I've seen this through the Pivot Virtual Summit, I've seen it through the Event Hustlers Facebook group, and through so many other platforms. Community is important all the time, but it is more important now than it has ever been. People are so isolated. People are feeling the fear. They're feeling very alone. And having any opportunity to just get together and feel like we're all in the same boat, and also to brainstorm together, to collaborate, to find ways to help each other, I think is so important. So if you are not already plugged into any community, doesn't have to be the Event Hustlers group. If you're not plugged into communities that give you a constant way to check in, and people who are on a similar journey as you, I really recommend that you find that. And I think we need that in our personal lives and in our professional lives. We talk about the events industry being so great for bringing people together. And I think now more than ever, we need to think about how our work is providing community for our audience, whether that is, a segment of an industry or a group of people. It really doesn't matter who it is. How are the services that we're providing bringing people together and providing that community? And that starts with you. You have to be part of community yourself. And that helps you to see what's valuable. It helps you to see what works, what doesn't work. I've seen a lot of people just trying things with communities, and that's good. It doesn't all work. So we need to test it. And then we need to figure out how we can use our live events, whether they're in person or virtual, to do that for other people, because our biggest value in the events industry is how we bring people together. And I hope that we can continue to do that even post-COVID. I know it's crazy times. I know the future is super uncertain. And, I'll be honest, it's easier for some than others. People who, I'll be honest, for me, we've been doing virtual events, so it's a little bit easier for me to pivot, quote unquote, into this space. In fact, for me, I'm not even necessarily pivoting. For a lot of people, I understand that this is much more overwhelming, and maybe it's much more threatening to your finances. And maybe it's really making you rethink whether this is something you can be involved in or not. I think we're going to see our industry, again, kind of accelerate very fast. There are a lot of people who are going to leave it. And I think there's a lot of people who are going to join it. And there are even more people who are going to find a new love for the work that we do. And of course, that's the work that I want to help inspire, is connecting us so that we can find that love. I don't want to see lots of people in our industry disappearing, but I do want to see us doing our events better, being more efficient, being more effective, being more strategic, and collaborating a lot more. And if that's what we can see in our industry post-COVID in the next 1, 2, 5, 10 years, to me, we're going to look back on this time and be so surprised at all the value that we got from going through what is inevitably, truthfully, maybe our biggest challenge so far. So I just wanted to kind of share those things. I don't have the answers to all of those things, but I have been thinking a lot about these things. And it's one of those things that I've just been, up at night thinking about them, and during the day brainstorming how I can make this stuff happen for me and also for all of you. So those are my thoughts. I will be back next Wednesday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern, and every Wednesday with some new guests. And I'm sure you'll find the conversations much more thrilling than what I just had to share. But I wanted to share that because, again, I know we're all going through so much, and I'm going through so much. And together, I feel like if we talk about it, we can each learn from each other. So if you're listening and you found anything of value, or you have anything that you'd like to add, please do go to the Event Hustlers private Facebook group, put your comments in there, or you can join facebook.com/LizKingEvents and put your comments there. I am so passionate about our industry. And even though I know we are going through the most difficult time, that at least in my career, I am really convinced that this is a great opportunity. And I think even the companies who are unfortunately accelerating towards going out of business, it was probably somewhat inevitable. And so I think it will be better for our industry overall. This is not to celebrate people who are going out of business, but we need to find ways to evolve. And so hopefully we can loop people back in other ways, and we can support each other through this trying time. But think about the bigger picture and the value that we really can provide. And I think if we keep our perspective there, it will help us to come up with ways we can be helping our clients today, bringing in revenue, staying relevant, and evolving so that post-COVID, we're an even better industry than we are today. So that's all I have to share with you today. Thank you so much for those of you who are tuning in live. I do see your comments and appreciate all of them. Thank you guys for participating in the Pivot Virtual Summit, in this podcast recording, in all the other crazy things that I do to just try to get some content out there in the industry. Very much appreciate it. And thank you for being part of the conversation. And I will see you next Wednesday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. Until then, hustle hard, but thoughtfully. Take your time, slow down, and make thoughtful, strategic decisions. All right, everyone, have a great week. Thank you.